When I learned that the TV news outlets were being operated under agendas instead of informing the truth objectively, I dismissed it again and began to learn to find more trustworthy sources in the internet without using the TV. I acquired this perspective 11 years ago, and I learned many stories that got me intrigued about the political climate, like the NSA scandal involving Edward Snowden about the privacy of the citizens in 2013. The hidden agendas in the news in the TV made me believe that they are controlling how much information is given to us, and therefore they aren't trustworthy anymore. Frankly, I don't see the day I trust the TV again. Now, given for how everything is being operated involving corruption in the gaming community and some other communities like the anime and comic industry, it's happening the same history again in the online climate. Sure, Steam in one conference declared not to be the taste police, but next, Steam has shown itself to be willing to contradict itself and ban the Japanese anime games and visual novels with waifus with the pretense to not exploit any underage characters despite their fiction, but at the same time, Steam is allowing Life is Strange 2 to be sold despite the sex scene between two underage characters in the episode 3. After seeing this double standard, it seems that Valve has other priorities than finishing their own games with the number 3 in them. The double standard is how industries treats the target demographics after outsiders, activists, and infiltrators advocate to ban or regulate products for male audiences. We've seen how games with anime girls like Senran Kagura has beaten the dust with censorship that even the creator of the series left marvelous. But at the same time, the game Dream Daddy, a product that aims for female and gay audiences, doesn't have anything censored in it, does it? There is a very common complaint that video games are designed to satisfy a heterosexual audience. This is painfully obvious that even I wonder why this is classified as a complaint. Young straight males contribute to a very extended demographic in the gaming environment. It makes sense that someone looking to make money needs to satisfy this demographic if he wants to be very lucrative. The real question is how this observation of the straight audience is considered a complaint. Is there anything morally wrong with this market? Or do you have a problem more with the straight male audiences than you have with the games? Or do you have an objective to shame straight males for having things they consider attractive? I should point out a few things with these questions in particular. First, although straight males present themselves in a larger slice of pie in the economic part of the gaming industry, the amount of games created specifically for this audience is becoming relatively small, being smaller if we take the censor works into consideration. Second, statistics from the Reuters show that almost half of population playing video games are women. This demonstrates that women are fine finding games that satisfy with their interests, and these games are very different from the games that seek the straight male audience. As a matter of fact, in the mobile gaming industry, anyone can find games specifically for the male audience, like Candy Crush. These sorts of games are as valid and as popular in the female market as anything else for the straight male market. Third, products that seek any other audiences except the straight males don't face as much criticism as the products that seek the straight male audience. In fact, they are far more celebrated, like most of romantic novels with shirtless muscular males, or shows like Magic Mike or Thunder from Down Under. Nobody is fabricating a moral panic on these forms of entertainment. But the problem doesn't stick inside the gaming community. It goes beyond that sector. It goes deeper than that, and it's worse with the double standards. In the sex doll industry, there is heavy outrage against sex dolls aimed for males, with comments such as robots should have consent modules and men have unrealistic standards. But at the same time, there isn't any outrage against dildos with unrealistic standards with shapes that are not possible in the human male genitalia. And if you don't believe me, feel free to search dildo shapes in image with the safe search turned off. you may be surprised at the results. And there isn't any demand from large organizations to add erection modules on dildos if these don't consent. And the anime community isn't safe either, because there are people complaining for how objectifying and degrading are over-sexualized females, with often low clothing or naked females in hot springs and bathtubs. But next, you have feminist groups protesting being half naked or totally naked. And take Funimation's tweet that anime is for everyone on a certain flame war, while at the same time there are animes with certain liberties on English dubs by the same Funimation that don't connect with the original Japanese dialogue, changing it into some all men hate women narrative and even on politics. And remember Kyoto Animation Studio? The anime studio known for well-recognized works like Lucky Star, Keion, Full Metal Panic, Clannad, and Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. The studio known for giving salaries instead of commissions and doing training sessions with their own animators and even including perks like maternity leave. There was a fire on July 2019 and claimed 36 lives and 33 people were hospitalized. And the New York Times doesn't look this as a tragedy because 36 people died. They look this as a tragedy because women died. If diversity and inclusivity in audiences are a duty, why does it seem okay to discriminate against straight males? I know, someone will call me an extremist or right-wing or something for posing a question like this, but as Regine stated, there are companies who are willing to change all their content in order to please a specific group that doesn't belong to the wide demographic of potential loyal customers and fans willing to buy 100% of products they produce with the high risk of losing these customers in the long term. How long before the loyal fans notice patterns like this and stop buying the products after companies show the slightest hint of anti-male agenda? How long before the loyal fans stop talking with the silenced and ignored mouths and start talking with their desired wallets? And how long do you expect before the excluded loyal fans gather enough resources to create their own space, become successful, and then exclude outsiders, including normies and centrists who have zero knowledge on anything related to that space, to avoid this circle of diversity, while excluding these loyal fans was encouraged in the first place? I understand that there are people who don't prefer to talk about politics. You may want to stay silent about politics. The problem is you don't get to choose the next day, and there is still someone above you in positions of power making the decisions for you no matter what you say. You may love Overwatch, Fortnite, or Life is Strange, but if you don't care what happens with other games and you don't offer your support to their communities, the fans of these communities will not see any reason to defend what you love when the thing they love is drastically altered, censored, or gone. I don't believe the gaming industry will regain the trust from consumers. I don't believe consumers will stop putting their political beliefs in front of their desire to indulge in escapism when once everything becomes political in unwanted environments. I don't believe inclusivity is going to work despite the numerous repeated attempts of implementing this principle even outside of gaming industry and then excluding the previous / original audiences. I don't believe an alternative to Steam or another PC gaming platform that doesn't pick up the taste police is possible. I don't believe YouTube will become what it used to be back in its first years, especially since corporations politically aligned with YouTube can get away with anything, while PewDiePie faces the open possibility of getting any of his videos demonetized. And above all, every person not involved in the culture war after seeing this video is going to look at me like I'm some pawn of one ideology, or like I'm being of their dramatic, or like I'm a crazy person like Charlie Kelly or Alex Jones, or like I'm a slave to an idea in the political spectrum, or they try to talk me out of it with words like, there are crazy idiots everywhere, it's all been this way, keep complaining about it, or if you don't like it, don't talk about it. But when harder times come for the entertainment uses, with no possibility of recovering their trust. Even if a, God forbid, possible future civil war, when people ask me what do I have to say, frankly I'll go for a similar tactic Spanish soccer fans use in Spain when they don't want to talk about the politics, war and more macro issues every time they're asked. dismiss the entire conversation and every argument by replying, "I only want to see my team winning," I will simply reply, "I just wanted to play video games." Still, I don't believe these should be reasons to be desperate, because I do enjoy some works more than others. We still have the freedom to vote with our wallet, and more people are able to speak openly about what they want in their games, which was a problem the gaming industry had before. There are still some companies willing to provide games free of any censorship. If gamers complain on not ethical practices from a certain company, they can stop buying their games, be willing to branch out to new territory, and if this is something they do like, they will buy it. Supporting companies with good practices and fair prices with your money rewards these companies to enter in the free market better. And even companies can change their product if they receive enough reception. When Steven Crowder was making questions to Alexa, he asked about Muhammad and Jesus Christ separately, and Alexa did a wide description of Muhammad, while with Jesus Christ she said, "Jesus Christ is a fictional character." The video gained so many views that in 1 week Alexa had their description of Jesus Christ updated. I said before that once a company stops providing the customers what they want, the customers will move to another alternative, often to satisfy the demand. Facebook banned users who later moved to Minds, Twitter banned users who later moved to Gab, Reddit to Vote, some Mozilla Google Chrome users use Brave, Gmail to ProtonMail, YouTube to BitChute, Google Play to Aptoid. The list is very long and there are more versions of alternatives than this one, but as far as I know it's working. Sure, you can say that Gab is a Nazi social network, filled with users from the far right, but will you describe Twitter as an ISIS social network? Will you describe YouTube as a pedophile social network? And the consumer boycotts will most likely extend to anything other than social media networks and games. Imagine you find the Huffpost advocating for incest, or New York Magazine advocating for bestiality, or Vice on pedophilia. Will you still be willing to support these news outlets with your money and traffic? The consumer revolt will always work, because if voting with your wallet isn't enough, piracy is the next step. I'm sure there are many reasons for pirating games, for economic reasons, regional restriction, to refuse to support a company, and fun enough, I discovered great games like Crusader Kings 2 despite their numerous DLCs in store. I decided to download a copy with all the DLCs, but after spending some time with the game, I began to like it and started to support Paradox by buying this game. More and more people are getting sick of the buzzwords like sexism, racism, transphobic. News outlets and activists in Twitter do it all the time, and these words are becoming meaningless each day. The story of the boy who cried wolf is becoming more true and relevant as if it was prophetic. Companies exist to make money from the products they create, and I'm sure the employees have moral standards. But if these moral standards will be enforced on users by, for example, banning people in Twitter for saying men are women over transphobia, restricting access to their digital games PS4 library over racism, customers will see this and some of them will refuse to do business with you, because if these moral standards are enforced and culture is rapidly changing, who's next? Are you going to keep using Twitter and playing PS4 games until you say something they don't like and ban you, and you ask yourself why they weren't loyal to you, a customer? Are you going to keep giving them your money, your privacy, and offer your traffic while they ban people over words and opinions until you're next on the list? Or do you prefer to stop using their services in protest until everyone in the company related with the decision with betraying the customers become replaced? Please share, download and mirror these videos to absolutely everyone and everywhere while you still can. Social media, forums, private messages, everywhere. I mean it. I don't think YouTube will allow these videos sticking around, even with the upcoming terms of use. Despite I don't consider myself a YouTuber and I don't have this video monetized, I have to insist that it's important to know that our hobbies are in danger under censors that are very motivated to regulate entertainment until video games, anime and movies become nothing more than tools of a totalitarian ideology. I'm not a journalist, I'm someone who enjoys playing video games. Feel free to subscribe, but I don't know if I'm gonna be posting videos related to politics. I may post a few tutorials, but I don't have any long-term plans on YouTube. I have some ideas in mind though. I'm just someone who draws silly comics, not YouTube videos. If you want to support me financially, you can do it by paypal.me/asfoxger for one-time donations. If you want to support me monthly, you can do it in Subscribestar, even if it's for a while. And if you want to see my comics and drawings instead of watch me talking about the universal genocide, feel free to visit my website asfoxger.com. Inside you can find links to my other social media profiles like Minds, Gav, DeviantArt and BitChute in case YouTuber hammers me and Epstein didn't kill him.
So my concern, I guess, is I recognize you're a company that serves the world, but as an American, I have a concern that the democracy I live in, the Democratic Republic, and the democratic functions are healthy. One of the biggest threats is, Russia, Iran, China. They're trying to meddle in our elections using your platform, and it's effective. So much so that you've actually come out and removed many people. Covington was apparently started by an account based in Brazil. The Covington scandal, where this fake news goes viral, was reported by CNN that it was a dummy account. They were trying to prop it up, and they were pushing out this out of context information. So they do this. They use your platform to do it. You've now got a platform that is so powerful in our American discourse that foreign governments are using it as weapons against us. And you've taken a stance against the laws of the United States. I don't mean like you're breaking the law. I mean you have rules that go beyond the scope of the U.S., which will restrict American citizens from being able to participate. Meanwhile, foreign actors are free to do so long as they play by your rules. So our elections are being threatened by the fact that if there's an American citizen who says, I do not believe in your misgendering policy, and you ban them, that person has been removed from public discourse on Twitter.
Right, but they don't get banned for saying they don't agree with it. They get banned for specifically violating it by targeting an individual.
Let's say in protest, an individual repeatedly says, no, I refuse to use your pronouns, in like Meghan Murphy's case. And she's a Canadian, so I don't want to use her specifically. The point I'm trying to make is at a certain level, there are going to be American citizens who have been removed from this public discourse, which has become so absurdly powerful, foreign governments weaponize it, because you have different rules than the American country has.
So just to be clear, my understanding, and I'm not expert on all the platforms, is that foreign governments use multiple different ways to interfere in elections. It is not limited to our platform, nor is it limited to social media.
But the president is on Twitter.
The president is on a lot of different platforms, as is the White House.
I think it's fair to point out the media coverage of his Twitter account is insane, and they run news stories every time he tweets.
That's certainly undeniable. I'm just pointing out that there are a number of different avenues for this, and individuals have choices in how they use the platform.
He might have other platforms, but he uses Twitter almost exclusively.
And what I'm trying to bring up is that if Twitter refuses to acknowledge this problem, you are facing regulation. I don't know if you care about that. But at a certain point...
Sorry, which problem?
If you're going to restrict American citizens from participating on a platform where even the president speaks, and it's essentially you have a privately owned public space, if I could use an analogy that would be most apt, and you've set rules that are not recognized by the U.S. In fact, when it came to a Supreme Court hearing, they said hate speech is not a violation. It's actually protected free speech. So there's actual odds. So there might be someone who says, I refuse to live by any other means than what the Supreme Court has set down. That means I have a right to hate speech. You will ban them. That means your platform is so powerful, it's being used to manipulate elections, and you have rules that are not recognized by the government to remove American citizens from that discourse. So as a private platform, you've become too powerful to not be regulated if you refuse to allow people free speech.